this meeting back to order. If you would all, as you are willing and able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, and thank you all for coming. I'll start by saying that the board has just come back into regular session after having gone into executive session to discuss legal rights and duties of school unit with our attorneys. So we are back in session. We have no one who has come in requesting the opportunity to deliver public comment. So we'll move directly into the report of the secretary. If I may have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, February 1st, 2023.
A second, Jen?
Jen, thank you. Comments or questions? By the way, I thought these were actually quite excellent.
I did too.
Yes.
They get right to the sort of reporting what was done versus what was said. Anybody see anything that was glaringly obvious? No? Anybody need more time with it?
One little thing, the very last sentence on page 4. A Pottermore Club was held last weekend, which was, I think it should say completely run.
Oh, I see that, yep.
Yep.
Completely, yep. Good catch.
Would you be opposed if I change that to educational technicians, just for the?
Yes.
So it's just clear, I just want to be.
Yep, that's a good clarification.
Thank you.
Good. Anything else? All in favor? That is 5-0. Thank you. That brings us to the report of the chair. I have a single item, and that is that we did in fact have our town officials meeting earlier today. Jen and I from the board were there.
And Heather?
Did you want to? Oh, Heather, sorry,
Heather
that's
was
of
on
course.
Zoom.
Heather attended remotely, yes, of course. Either of you want to speak of?
I mean, I can or you can.
Go for it.
It doesn't, I'll be really quick.
Go for it.
If you want. So South Berwick updates, there was a traffic study that came back, so they're reviewing that. The town manager said he's working on the budget. He says there's lots and lots of challenges. He said that several times, lots and lots of challenges with creating a budget. There's lots of things to think about. And there's the town hall. There is a study that they would like to do to evaluate the old building versus building a new building. There's some vintage boilers that are a big issue, and they can't find parts to keep it maintained. So they just want to make sure that they have all the information and research in front of them before making recommendations. Route 91, 236, you'll see that there's some construction type poles being put up. Again, that's where that light is supposed to be established. That's going to happen when the ground thaws, I believe. And then the town manager also mentioned his extensive background in emergency leadership. And so he has established a team to meet regularly, and they're specifically going to tackle the area of storm disaster.
Communication, I guess?
Well, coordination, right. And then Elliot, the budget season, of course, is right now. One of the things that he talked about was extending the sidewalks near Elliott Elementary School downtown area. He's also looking to invest in the athletics, like pickleball. It's such a hot topic, huh? And then our report from our superintendent was all the very similar information that he's been providing to us these last few meetings. Basically, it's budget season. He just gave some packets of information just to explain the process and how carefully it's being worked on. And I think that's okay, right?
Yeah,
Unless you want to add anything.
I would add that we should probably give a shout out to Chief Moya, who was named the Maine Police Chief of the Year.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
of course he was.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
I'm so glad he was nominated.
And well
That's
deserved.
Yes, for
fantastic.
sure. That was, other than that, pretty,
Yep.
yeah, thank you very much, Heather, that was
Thanks,
awesome.
Heather.
That concludes the report of the chair and brings us to the report of the superintendent.
Yeah, I am really excited that Kathy Sargent is joining us today. Kathy is the director of the Sanford Technical Regional Vocational Center, SRTC. And we haven't had a presentation in quite some time, kind of talking about all the wonderful opportunities our students have at the SRTC. So Kathy generously agreed to come share with us tonight and kind of give us an overview of everything that's going on. It's really exciting, and I think one of the things that became very clear as we kind of met with students after the end of the school year, Kathy arranges for us to be able to have some time to sit down with Marshall students and talk about their experience, and really talking about, like, this isn't the traditional view you might have of a vocational program 25 years ago and how it's evolved so much. So Kathy, I'm going to do you a disservice if I say anything else, so please, you are wonderful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the warm welcome. I'm very happy to be here this evening to tell you all about the Sanford Regional Technical Center. I have put together some things that I thought might be of interest. I hope I didn't misjudge that. But then also putting some things in that you can see what we're in the process of admissions. So for us, we have to find new students every year. And so we go out to all of the schools. We just finished that last week. And talk to sophomores generally about what we have to offer. So I'll show you some of those things that the students have also received. Just kind of a shameless plug in here too for us to get some students as well. So career and technical education, it is CTE month nationally. So this February we spend celebrating all the things that we do in CTE. So just some kind of basic facts. The Maine economy is experiencing a skills gap, which we knew this years ago. This was something that we've known for a long time. And then COVID hit, and I think these numbers, I don't think even really reflect how that problem has been exacerbated. So 51% of jobs in Maine require skills training. This really surprises people. Education, that's a little more than high school, but not necessarily a four-year degree. So a lot of those jobs require that kind of training. 47% of Maine workers are trained at that level. So you've got a gap just there. With that, and I think we'll continue to see this increase just again because of COVID and those situations. Career and technical education programs, hopefully we can fill some of those gaps because we do provide some of that training. Either students leave us with credentials or hopefully they're inspired to go on and get a little more education so they can be better prepared. The four-year cohort graduation in Maine is 95.9 for CTE students. All other students, or all students together, is 86.1%. So one of the things we take a lot of pride in, I think what you'll find at SRTC and in all CTE schools is that we're able to form these great relationships. I'll be honest, we have some advantages. The students come to us for half their day, and many of our programs are 2 years in length. So of course you develop some great relationships, and I think when students feel like they belong and have something that is meaningful in their life, they stay in school. So I think that has a lot to do with it. During the past school year, Maine had 7,677 secondary level CTE students. I think a lot of people know CTE, when you talk about it, it's high school, it's secondary. But we also have post-secondary CTE, so 7,813 students. Those are in the community college system or any trade schools that in any of the states that we have. So this is just some Maine data that I thought might be interesting to share with you. Specifically about us, we are one of 27 of the secondary level CTE schools, so proud to be part of a great network. We're actually as much as we are from Sanford up to Calais and Lincoln and Holton, all these places far north, we have a great network so that we can kind of be on the same page with what we're providing to students. At SRTC, this was in October of this year, there were 581 students. We have 22 different programs for this year. So those students are spread out through those programs. Our students represent
8 partner schools. So Marshwood, of course, is one of our partner schools, but we do have 7 others that participate in CTE. And then we also have homeschooled students. If they reside in the communities that comprise all of our districts, they can also attend SRTC. Marshwood High School is sending 54 students to SRTC, which is a great representation. I think it's increased a little bit, but it's been a really good, steady enrollment from Marshwood. Hoping we can increase it. Many of our students, most of our students, are 11th and 12th graders. As I mentioned, our programs are typically 2 years in length. We do have some 1-year programs, but there's just a few of those. Emergency medical services, fire science, and health occupations. And a lot of times, actually, students will pair those. So if you are getting your certification in EMT and also in fire science, you're really marketable. So students know that, and they'll get both of those certifications, so they're typically with us for 2 years in that case. We also have a 10th grade career exploratory program. We're getting back to internships. Another COVID thing is one of the things that we feel is important is to get students out into the workplace, whether that's with us, which we think in many ways we replicate a workplace, but also if we can get them out to see what the workplace is like, it helps to kind of hook them into that industry and have them feel more comfortable. So during COVID, we really weren't getting students out there. I'm sure it was the same with any programs you have that get students out into the community, so that was unfortunate. So it's nice this year to have students who are actually going out into the workplace. It's kind of a slow build as we bring that program back into its full force. We also have a pre-K. Sanford has really made an effort to have pre-K programs in all of our elementary schools, but SRTC is fortunate that we also have a pre-K program because we have an elementary education program. So that's a great partnership where our students are working in the pre-K so that they have this great experience in their first year of working with 4-year-olds. And then in their second year, they actually go out into some of your schools. In some cases, they go out into those internships. The other partnership that I wanted to mention is Summer Commons, which is a brand new facility in Sanford for memory care, is our site for our health occupations clinicals. So we have actually 2 sessions of health occupations. So hopefully we are putting out a potential 40-something CNAs into the market, which are sorely needed. And they are doing their clinicals now at Summer Commons, which is great. If we didn't have these folks, we couldn't have the program. It couldn't be successful. And it's hard to have students in for clinicals when you're actually kind of shorthanded already, so we appreciate that. Wanted to mention our 8th grade program. We are trying to, as much as possible, kind of bring CTE down into the middle school and hopefully beyond someday so that students can look forward to this, know that it's an option for them, and see what might be of interest to them. So in June, we bring in every 8th grader in our catchment area, which is, again, those 8 partner schools, and we have big populations in these schools. So all of these 8th graders, 1,400, 1,500 8th graders over a 2-day period come into our school. So it's fun. They get to see different programs, 3 different programs generally is what we have them look at, and we really try to make it middle school interesting so that students just leave with just a taste of what that program is and enough to maybe want to come back and check us out again. And then we've been doing a summer camp now for a few years. The State Department of Education is really interested in, again, getting those CTE opportunities down into middle school. So that's part of that initiative, and this is for rising 6th through 8th graders. If you have a rising 6th through 8th grader this summer, we should be putting on a camp for them. So look for that information to come. We have had great reviews on this. The students love it, and having the opportunity to get in there and do something that's really different for them. So what's unique about us? These are some of the things we talk to students about when we go out and try to recruit them. So the first thing is that it's regional. We have those 8 partner schools, and I think that's important because I know when I came to SRTC, I think it's 16 years ago, maybe 17, it seemed like that could never work. Why? How could you put a student from Marshwood in the same room as a student from Noble and have that work. But it really does. A lot of that other stuff goes away. A lot of these students in our world now know each other anyway, so that's the truth. But I think also when you get some passions that are common, a lot of things really don't matter anymore. Those things are really important. Our class size is small. Typically, we have classes no larger than 16 students. So that gives us the ability to kind of make sure that things are safe. Students are using equipment that's just like what we see in industry. So we have to have a great focus on safety to make sure that no one's injured, and that's the reason for the class sizes for the most part. The length of the program and the length of the day are something that's unique. I already mentioned the 2-year programs. Our day, or the part of the day that the students are with us, is really half of their schedule. So they're with us for 2 hours, and again, I think it lends itself to those great relationships, and really with their instructors, I think it becomes a mentorship. And just that amount of time really does help. I think students love being there that amount of time. Applied learning, I always talk about, is really one of our hallmarks. One of the things we do every year, or every year and a half or so, is build a house. So right now, our building trade students, our plumbing students, our electrical students, sometimes we can involve the architectural students, are all involved in this real house building project. And just a few weeks ago, they actually moved the house. We built it out back, so it's kind of neat. So you can see on our Facebook page and our website the kind of a time, what do they call that? Time lapse, thank you. A time lapse of the house being moved. So it's really, really neat. And the kids got to be a part of that. And now that the house is moved onto its permanent site, they're going on site to do the finished work to get the house ready for its occupants. And then the other thing that I think is a little bit different about us, although dual enrollment has become such a thing for high schools to begin with, but we do offer college credits as well. So students who come into our engineering and architectural design program, for example, while they're in their CTE high school class, they're also earning YCCC credit. And it's pretty substantial. It's 12 credits for that class. So for students who are really motivated, they can go out and get other dual enrollment credits and really be close to maybe being halfway through their first year of college or more, depending on what they get for credits. The other thing that tends to happen is we have some programs that don't necessarily connect with a college dual enrollment, but those programs tend to have certifications. So our welding program is a good example. Students can earn their American Welding Society certification, and I think the biggest thing that does is give them a confidence boost that if you're able to pass this test, that it's really quite something. Someone comes in from the outside to give this test, it's actually a skills test. So they take their plates that they've welded, they bring them out of the building, and they actually cut them and take a look at a cross-section to make sure that the weld is a good quality. So students really feel good when they're able to pass that test. It's something that they work toward the whole time they're with us in many cases. This is just some information about us, our open house, but I'll tell you a little bit about that as we go. I don't know how the sound will work on this, so this is a challenge. It might, yeah, we'll see. If it doesn't, that's okay. This is just a brief video that we've used for admissions, but I think it's a really good introduction to what we do at SRTC, so I thought you might be interested. We'll see.
What if you could learn by actually doing? What if you could own your future by learning new skills?
What if you got to connect with classmates from other high schools that share the same interests?
We want to introduce you to SRTC. SRTC is a school focused on career and technical education, previously called vocational or VOC.
Here you learn lifelong skills. Some may end up being a career, some just may end up being something that you value and interest.
I get to meet students from different schools that I wouldn't have had the chance to meet.
It's hands-on learning and it's in the moment. It's not traditional learning, and you get to experience real life work.
Everyone has the same hobbies and likes the same things. That's why we're all in the same class together.
We purposefully organize our school into career pathways to align with our student interests. Our students learn about different career options in an applied learning setting. That means many of the projects students work on are real.
The regional part of our school name is really important.
SRTC students come from 8 different partner schools.
Kennebunk,
Marshwood,
Massabesic, Noble,
Schaefer Academy,
Sanford, Wells,
York.
although we may be opponents on the field or in our auditorium,
Once we join our program, we are part of the same team.
I've met some of my closest friends through my program.
We're like a family here. Our staff are passionate about what they teach and often have left a career in the field to join education.
Time is on our side at SRTC.
we get to spend half of our day all school year in our program.
For most of us, that means spending a lot of time doing something that we like learning about.
I think it being half of our day really makes a big difference.
Remember, we choose to be here.
Our school is an elective option of interest to many students, and there is an application process to get here.
If you're worried about fitting it into your schedule,
Get interested in school's counselor. They're a whiz at making it work.
The class sizes are small.
because of the type of learning we do.
I learn better when I get more time with a smaller group of people. You can really be engaged in the work that you're doing.
It gives the teacher more time for each individual student, and I think the whole class bonds more when it's smaller to work together.
So let me tell you right up front, there are classrooms and academic work at SRTC. But what's really awesome is that you get to apply that classwork, so it's totally worth doing it.
That is where our lab spaces shop special gear and technology enhance our learning
and take it to the next level. What if you could work on real life projects? What if you could earn high school and college credit simultaneously?
At the end of this program, you could have 700 hours of skill training, and you get 4 high school credits per year, and you can even earn college credits depending on what course you take.
And I'm gonna walk away from SRTC with 1,000 hours towards my journeyman license and about 576 hours towards my class hours.
I'm in a program that is going to help me become a certified nursing assistant, and it will help me get a good paying job while I go to college.
I have over 1,000 hours of technical training that I've taken out of these shops that I plan to bring not only to my family business, but also to my role in the National Guard.
In the culinary arts program, I'm working towards my ServSafe certification.
Essentially what I'm learning and doing now, it will be saving me a lot of money and a lot of time, and it gets me a head start towards my eligible career.
What if you had access to a career planning center to explore your college and career options?
We offer 22 different programs, so there is likely something of interest for most students.
SRTC is a great choice for anyone who wants to learn a career.
A, either you know the career field you want to pursue in the future, and that's great, and you can join that program, or B, you can just take that leap of faith and join a program even if you don't know if you want to pursue that in the future, which is also a good case because then that will hopefully lead you into what you actually want to do.
Most programs take 2 school years to complete, but there are a few that only require 1, including emergency medical services, fire science, and health occupations.
Are you intrigued?
Do you want to learn more?
SRTC is a world to explore, and I think you'll enjoy learning here.
I encourage you to do your homework. Go to our website so you can stay apprised of all things SRTC. You can check out our Career Pathways videos and learn more about all our different programs. You can learn the details about our upcoming open house to take place at our school on February 15th. And make sure you know how to apply online by our deadline of March 3rd.
Your students create Did your students create the promotional?
What if you could learn
Sorry.
by actually doing it?
There we go. They were involved. We're fortunate to have a TV studio actually in our video production program, so they have a lot of professional help doing it. But yeah, a lot of the footage and everything they've gone out and collected, definitely. So this is one of the slides that we use with students, just to kind of walk you through the process that they go through. We go to all 8 of the partner schools, and the sophomores come in and sit in an assembly with us and hear about this. So we think they were pretty interested. We think we did well. So our website, as was mentioned in the video, The individual programs, you can learn more about there, and we've got them broken up into what we call pathways. Our school is actually divided up into pathways. So I think usually by the time a student is a 10th grader, most of them can kind of say, I'm an artsy person. I think I want to go to that arts pathway and check that out. And there's 2 programs that we have there, as well as the other art programs that are involved in Sanford High School. So we share our space with them. But it's one of my favorite pathways because there's always music and there's always art. Very exciting. But definitely steer students in that direction so that they can start to get an idea of what would be programs that would be of interest to them. When we do the assembly with students, we tell them really, no pressure. All you have to do is decide today if you'd like to come and visit us. So students are actually coming tomorrow and next Tuesday to visit with us. Marshwood students will be with us tomorrow to check out 3 programs of their choice. So they get to sign up for 3 programs that they'd like to see, and students will be there, so they get to hear from students, which I think is really powerful as well. But we look forward to having them with us tomorrow. We do have an open house, as been mentioned, next week on Wednesday. We'd love to have you come, or if you'd like to come at a different time, I'd be happy to host any of you who'd like to come and check us out. We tell the students to discuss this with their people, bring this home to your parents, to your guardians, whoever's home, whoever kind of is influential in your life in terms of those decisions, and maybe bring them to the open house, hopefully, or at least have a discussion about it, and hopefully that helps to generate some interest. And then we have an online application process. It's open, and it's on our website as well. We close the application March 3rd, and this is good news, bad news. What we've found over the last few years is that we typically fill our programs with students who apply by that date. So we really stress with students, please make sure you apply by March 3rd, because what we can do for you on March 4th is limited. It's not a first come, first served process, but we do have that cutoff of that date. So we have a video on our website about how to apply, and then obviously they can come to us, ask us anything. All of our presentations with students, we bring a panel of students who are SRTC and Marshwood High School students. And what I always say to the group is, now you have people that you know you can go to and ask questions. You don't have to ask me, but you see these students that come to your school every day. Ask them what they think. And then if they decide to apply, of course, the online application I already mentioned. The process is that they apply with us. Every student who applies, they get really busy in the school counseling office and send us their academic and attendance records. They interview with us, and we make decisions by the end of April, and every student gets a letter home letting them know what the decision is and kind of what next steps are. I feel like, and I know a lot of our schools feel like the interview process is actually kind of a career exploratory activity, because when do students really get an opportunity to interview? And the schools do a great job of preparing students for that and thinking about what might you be asked. I know I always say to students that, you notice we're getting your academic and your attendance records. Think about that. If you had a bump in the road your freshman year and you had mono or something, be ready to talk about that with that instructor. So they interview with the instructor of their first choice program. And another great thing from COVID, we started doing them remotely, and I think it's a lot easier. So that's how we're handling that. I tried to get some of your students in here, so hopefully there's some familiar faces. We love having them, and I'm very happy to have been here with you. Do you have any questions?
I do have a question. It's with regard to the number of slots in each of the programs, and whether you find that by the end of the application process, you've got more applicants, qualified applicants, than you do slots?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. And,
yeah.
The likelihood of that changes every year. I just try to tell students, because they say, which are the most competitive programs? I say, it kind of depends on you, because you're the new crop of applicants. But what we've typically seen is welding has been very popular. Cosmetology is one of our newer programs that when we opened the new building we were able to open. Cosmetology is very interesting. So those programs tend to fill pretty easily. Yeah. And the piece that we're always trying to figure out is, what do we do with students who weren't able to get in? We do try to put them into another program if they're interested in something like that. We do keep a wait list so that if spaces do open up, because that does happen. Students change their mind over the summer. So we try to place as many students as absolutely possible because we don't like to say no. I love that we're competitive. I love that people are understanding what CTE is and what it can offer their students, but turning students away is tough. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Yes.
You may have covered this, so I apologize if
That's
it's being repetitive, but how often does the student go to the, so if they're enrolled, does it depend on which program they're involved in? How often are they going during the week? Is it every day? Is
Oh,
it
great.
every other day?
Yeah, yeah, they come to us every day. So
Oh.
their schedule, really, they spend half the day at Marshwood, depending on if, typically we have our juniors come in the morning to us and our seniors come in the afternoon. So the other half of their schedule is usually their core classes here. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jen. If you have a student that has an IEP or some other like learning plan, do you accommodate that as part of this program, or?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we ask the schools for all of the IEPs, 504s, health plans if students have those. Our nurse looks at all the health plans and makes sure that that's anything that needs to be implemented is. And then our student services counselor looks at all those IEPs. We actually, hopefully we can keep her. We have a person through ESSER funds that we were able to bring in as an ed tech, but she really helps us to make a lot of those accommodations if students need tests read to them and things like that. To have that extra person is huge. But absolutely, that we're required to do that and we believe in it. But I also think that students sometimes find that either their accommodations might be different or not needed at SRTC just because of the nature of the work.
Yep. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just think this is so inspiring. I have a nephew over there right now in the digital design, and it's just such a great fit for him as compared to anything that we could possibly offer here. It's just like his thing, and so thank you for that. I should know the answer to this question. I'm embarrassed to ask it actually after 4.5 years on the board, but how are you funded?
Oh, great question. My gosh, I could go on for days about this. Our funding changed pretty recently, so that's why I say that. So we, just like your schools are funded, we have an essential programs and services funding formula through the state. So we actually go through a similar process of, okay, you have this program, you have this many students, okay, we'll give you a teacher, and so on and so forth. Same thing with, our operational costs, our supplies, those sorts of things. So, what we hope for is that we're 100% funded. When we went to the Sanford School Committee just recently, I think we were just over 90% funded. Because the hard part is, I think you see this probably with your own funding formula, is that what seems to be the right thing for lots and lots of schools isn't necessarily the right thing in the moment for your schools. So for example, and you probably see this too, the funding formula at the state uses a state average for teacher salaries, and we're not average here, really. We've got a different standard of living here than we do in further northern parts of the state. Told you I could go on forever. And the partner schools also pay into a capital equipment fund, which you may have heard about before. So we have, the state funding, we have some federal funding through a Perkins grant, and then some other grants sometimes come in through the state, and then that capital equipment fund.
So does that all go through the Sanford School Board? Are you like umbrellaed under the Sanford's district school board?
Yes,
Okay.
technically, they are our governing board, but we also have a cooperative board, which includes all of the superintendents, and they really advise us on things. So for example, we just looked at a couple of policies just a few weeks ago, and I will bring those forth to the school committee and Sanford, but only because the superintendents agreed and thought that they were good policies.
And we spend about $19,000 to $20,000 right now for the additional, so it might be Kathy might come to us and say, we need 30 new computers in one of our computer labs, they're 10 years old. So there's kind of a capital outlay, and then that is divided amongst all of the eight schools depending on your popular, really all the 7 schools, because Sanford has an inherent cost that they're already dealing with in their budgets. They have the 7 schools divided up, but based on the population.
So does our school district pay in per student that we send over there?
No, they get their funding from the state.
All of the funding,
That comes
okay.
from the state.
Okay. I didn't think so. I'm like, I
But
haven't heard about that.
It does
but-
impact us a little bit, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, but that's the yin and the
So
yang.
it
Yep.
affects us in that those monies for half day for those students we're not getting because they're not being educated here.
It's not quite,
Sort
yeah,
of.
there is
I
a
mean,
little
to
bit, not,
dumb
not.
it down a little bit,
But
not-
not, yeah,
not
but
like that,
they're
exactly.
separate now. They used to be different. Like, so for instance, we have the situation where students may not get placed at Sanford. And, you know, Kathy works really hard. You do want to try this program, do you want to try this program? And sometimes it doesn't work. And so we
Yeah.
also have the ability to place students at Dover. And so we have money built into our budget that, you know, maybe someone has a real interest in animal science. That's something that they offer at Dover that they may not offer at Sanford. So they have the opportunity. Or electrical is a little bit different at Dover than it is at Sanford. And so there, you know, there's different opportunities that kids may have. So we really try to, you know, give those kids what they need.
Yeah.
I think Kathy said it beautifully that if kids are engaged, feel valued, and are excited about learning, they're going to be happy and be in school. And so that's something that we really are working hard on. So,
Got it. Thank you very much.
any questions for Kathy?
Thank you so much.
One
Go ahead.
last question, sorry. Do you
No,
help,
okay.
like, with job placement? So like if the CNA, do you sort of tell them like, okay, now you've got your CNA license, do you help sort of?
Yeah, absolutely.
funnel them?
At this point, it's kind of an interesting time in the employment gig because they're all coming to us. Everyone, the
interesting.
employers are coming to
Yeah.
us and begging
Yeah.
for our students. But yes, we just had Portsmouth Naval Shipyard just came in last week or the week before to talk to students about opportunities there. Pratt and Whitney will be coming in. We definitely have the different hospitals come in, mostly to the programs themselves, and talk about all of those employment opportunities. So they're sought after.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
If
you.
you don't mind me saying, Kathy's unbelievable.
Oh.
You are. You're,
I paid him to say that.
I mean, so you're balancing 8 different school districts who
Yeah.
have different views on things. And Kathy, the other part that Kathy does beautifully is that she starts to look at those, what are those next things? A few years ago, we had the conversation around, seems to be plumbing was an area that we, you know, do we want to look into that? And so Kathy's always kind of looking for that next wave of what may make sense, you know, for them to offer in the courses. So just, you know, we so appreciate the work that you do, so.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to be able to serve your students. One of the things that has kept me there is that those students come in smiling every day. That's the best part of my day. They love being there. So thank you for sharing them with us.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kathy, you are welcome to go. Don't feel like you have to stay. So go back to Sanford. Thank you. Next up is, just want to give you kind of an update on our school counseling program here at Marshwood High School. As you know, we've invested a lot in professional development and just really trying to look at what we do with our school counseling department at the high school. We've done some physical changes, we've made some layout changes. I have to recognize Lindsay Etzen, who is now the department chair, and just incredible job that we're doing. I think, you know, it's such growth. We're in the beginning process of assessing what that looks like. You know, Brett's really taken this on and really working collaboratively with the counselors and trying to really talk about what's best for kids and what all kids can expect. So I'll just turn it over to Brett.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah. That's why I get to go first.
Just a couple quick things. We've had some turnover in our counseling department. We've got 2 new hires that have come on board. We also have, like Mr. Caverly said, Lindsay's taken over as the department chair. And we've also made a shift in one of the positions to be that college and career counselor, which is new waters for us. And Angie Littlefield's been reaching out to other schools to kind of get a grasp of how that kind of all works. So there's some new things to do. But one thing I do want to say is I've enjoyed working with these folks because they're easy to work with. They want to make changes, and they want to make those changes that's in the best interest of kids. So I won't say that to them tomorrow, but I'll say it right now. We like to banter a little bit, so you're on.
Just a little. Hello. I'm Lindsay Edson, and I'm one of the school counselors here, as everyone has already said. And we're happy to be here today to give you some updates about the school counseling department. And as most of you know, we recently went through a little bit of an audit to kind of take a look post-pandemic about the mental health crisis in our nation. And what can we be doing differently as a school counseling department in terms of services and making sure that students have what they need to be successful and that families can be supportive of their students through programming and opportunities in our community. So with that audit, we sort of, and with the support of you all of the school board, we've been able to make some really positive changes, and we wanted to share those with you tonight. So a couple new faces this year. As mentioned, we've had some turnover. So one of the really positive things that we've been able to do is Nikki Bolin is one of our new administrative assistants, and we've always had 1.5 administrative assistants, but our halftime has been housed in the main office. And so whenever we would need that person, they sort of get sucked into the main office hub and bub of the day, and so now she's over in our area, in our hub, as we'll show you in a few minutes, which has been a huge plus for us, having her as a welcoming face for students who need a minute, need to see one of us, and we're busy. She's been really able to welcome our students and find them a place to go. We also have Caitlin LeBeff, who's one of our new school counselors, and Kyle Lontine, who you will hear from in a minute. And we are so blessed. Kyle and Caitlin are absolutely amazing. They've been an asset to our team this year, and we're so blessed to have them. So our school counseling hub, we are very excited about this. One of the things that came out of the audit is that we really needed a space for students to be able to come, work together, work with us. A lot of students that do come to see us need a couple minutes. They're having a tough time, they need some privacy. And with our old offices, there really wasn't a place where a student could take a couple minutes and relax and wait for us to be available. And they were always, there just wasn't a good place for them to feel safe and supported. And so we have now sort of taken over upstairs D-Pod, where we have a hub in the middle with our 2 administrative assistants. We're still working on decorating, but we have some chairs, we have some bean bags. I think the goal is also to move some computers in there and be able to have mini meetings and sessions with students. And all of our offices are right around there. So it's truly a hub, it's truly a network where students can come in and just come to student services. And even, with all the counselors, we have one of our social workers there as well. So no matter what is happening, we can always wrap around a student, no matter what the situation is. The other exciting thing we have is the students in the art club are designing some artwork for the outside of our pod to be called student services or student counselor, school counseling area. And we have a couple drawings in the work, and then they're going to paint that. So it's a collective effort. It's going to be great. So the other positive is we are in larger classrooms, and so we're able to bring students in. So this is, Caitlin ran a de-stress fest during midterms, and students were able to sign up, and they made putty, they made, I think they made a glitter jar, and they did all kinds of things, and they were all able to come into her classroom and work together as a group, and it was a lot of fun. So we're able to put on some fun things within our offices as well.
So in our efforts to showcase our new location, we also wanted to create kind of put ourselves in every classroom. So you'll see up on the slide, but certainly right over my shoulder too, we designed this purple poster of We Got You. So the top half is all really great resources that are available to students 24/7, whether they want to call or certainly, as we know, mostly gravitating towards text, but 24/7 hour resources for them if they need it or a family member needs it for support. Beneath that is all of our names, a counselor breakdown, social worker names, our email addresses, exactly where our office is. So that way a student can look exactly in any classroom and in the common spaces where this is located throughout the building, see exactly who they need to speak to, scan the QR code right next to the person's name, and it will bring them directly to the You Can Book Here link, which is personalized for every single counselor. Student can go look what's available for me to meet, pick the day and time that works best for them, and instantly be booked with that appointment, which minimizes that back and forth of like, what about now and how about this? Student response to that has been incredible. They've really valued and appreciated that, and just, it's been great. Other thing we've done is really recently revamped our newsletter. So we wanted to go with a format that we found to be a little bit more user-friendly. It looks at what device you're using and then modifies itself to be accessible. So again, recognizing that a lot of people are accessing this on their phone, so you don't have to go through and kind of scale it down and move it all around. It formats appropriately for you. Keeping the same format, we've been able to put in a lot more information that we think is easier to access. Beginning is always going to be what are the upcoming important dates and events that are going on, followed by very topic specific, whether it's grade level appropriate or a general specific topic for students and families to access. And then the conclusion part is always going to be just, again, who is your counselor? How do you access them? Those direct links. We think it's been really well received. Our February edition just went out this past Friday afternoon. And as of this morning, there are already almost 900 views of it. So we're really excited with that feedback that's been coming. Also, just love talking about the dual enrollment and early college opportunities. Like Kathy was saying, it's just such an incredible resource for students. This past fall, 55 college courses were successfully completed by students. That's actually a 38% increase from going back to pre-COVID, that fall of 2019. So that's great that we're moving in a positive number. I think it's always just helpful too to quantify that. That's almost $17,000 that was just saved just fall semester alone for students. So we're excited about that. 57 college classes are currently scheduled for spring for students this spring. And just important to note, that doesn't include any of the SRTC opportunities that she was talking about. So that number is actually going to be higher at the conclusion of this semester, so that's great. We're back to in-person classes again. So currently, right now, we have after school at MHS an Intro to Criminal Justice course with through partnership with York County Community College. And we're really excited to share that we are bringing back concurrent enrollment opportunities. So starting next year, we have already signed on for an English class and are about to sign on with a math class, at least one math class. So students are going to be able to access college classes while sitting here during their academic day with an MHS teacher. So certainly that means we now have in-person and online, both after school and during the academic day opportunities for students. So we're just really excited about those possibilities.
Hi. I apologize for my outfit. I was just coming from practice. So I just want to talk quickly about our college career military fairs. So we've been doing these for the last few years. Obviously, COVID, threw a wrench in that, but prior we had been trying to do larger scale events, and we found a lot of success in them. So this past fall, we had 56 colleges and universities. We had all the military branches present. We also had Pratt Whitney, Bath Iron Works, Shipyard, and a couple other local job opportunities there. And this was after school, and we had a great turnout. So this was an opportunity where parents could come and any interested students could come and talk to any of the colleges and universities and or military or jobs. We have another one coming up on April 12th. And what we try to do with these, we try to run them twice a year. One of them during the school day to kind of maybe filter students into there to start having conversations. We prep them in advisory prior of like, here's some questions maybe you could ask. Also, they'll have an exit ticket, so they have to take away a little bit of information from like 3 different schools or opportunities for them to then talk about in their advisory after. So the purpose of that is to like really start introducing this to all sophomores and juniors. And then in the fall, we'll pair another one in the evening, so parents can also be a part of that, and we typically pair that with our financial aid night. So that will be another opportunity coming up, which we're excited about. And then as Mr. Hugterp has mentioned, we have a new position, which I took on this year as a college and career counselor. This is new to our district. It's new to me. And so the first thing that I did was reached out to schools that have this position and say, what do you do? What does that look like? And certainly we'll take that information in and we're going to tailor it to what, Marshwood High School students need. I think this is a really exciting opportunity. I think when we think about the grand scheme of things in terms of the audit that we did, one of the things that we all walked away from were how do we make sure there's more opportunities for us to reach freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, because I think we do a lot with seniors heavily during their year. And by kind of tailoring a position that really focuses on one key part of what a school counselor does, it's going to provide also that other opportunity to reach more students. So I think that's exciting. But, in this role, my plan is to meet individually with students that feel that that's important for them. If they would like, by Friday, I'll have been to all junior advisories introducing this new position, what I do and how I can help them. I've asked them to fill out a questionnaire that sort of gives me a baseline of understanding of their needs, questions, and then from there, if they would like to schedule a meeting with me, I've directed them to our poster in each of the classrooms, so it doesn't matter where they are, they can book an appointment with me anytime to just get started in their process. Some people might feel like, I don't really know where to start, and I'd love to help them, and others might be really, ambitious and already maybe have visited some schools, even as a junior at this point, but I want to help them as well. So I've gone in to make sure that they understand that. I'll also be doing group lessons, so whether that's through advisory or just offering drop-in times into because again, I have a classroom, so I can service a lot of students in one space. And that might be around how do you build a college list. We're looking at purchasing a new platform too. Instead of using Naviance, we're looking at getting SCORE, which a lot of schools in our area use, and they're finding that students like it a lot more. It's a little more user-friendly. It's actually a little cheaper. And they'll be able to do a lot of college searching right in that, along with career searches, personality inventories that are just a little more relatable than what we've had in the past. I'll also be able to help out with the Common App, College Essay. I'm also planning to go into junior advisories this spring, partner with the English teachers, English classes, and partner with them, because I said, why are we waiting until senior year to have kids writing a college essay? And they agreed. And so we're going to have all juniors have some kind of rough draft of a college essay written before they are done with their junior year, which I'm really excited about. And then I'll also help, and so the idea is, start with them, get them at least there's a body in this building that wants to help kids starting their junior year, and then I'll follow them into their senior year to kind of launch them into whatever it is they're hoping to do and follow them through in that process. And part of that is scholarships. The other thing, too, is I'll continue to do large group presentations. So I moved up our junior presentation that we typically do in the spring, just around future planning. And I brought in 4-year, 2-year, the shipyard. We had a gap year program, and military, just to expose students again to what's out there and what are your opportunities. And so the idea is to do that in the fall, and then in the spring actually do the presentation that we normally do for seniors in the fall, so they can really get going. If they feel like college is for me, what can I do this summer to feel like I'm ahead of the game? I want to present that information to them then, so they can really kickstart their senior year and feel like they're in control of that. So I made a few of those changes this year, so that's coming this spring. We'll have a financial aid night this spring as well. We did it this fall. That was partly COVID related, just because of large group presentations. The FAFSA opens up as of October 1st, so we try to do it in the spring now. We just couldn't do it last year, but we're going to move back to that model. And so we will have that actually on March 9th during parent-teacher conferences as well, trying to make it as convenient as possible for parents to be able to drop by. And we're also going to be able to offer for senior families that maybe are getting their award letters from schools and just need some help in how to translate that. She's coming in early and parents will be able to sign up for time slots, so I'll be sending that information out soon. And then I'm also partnering with, so we have an opportunity coming up where York is doing a college panel. I'll be sending that information out. They've asked us to partner with them to send that out to parents, so that's really great. They're going to have admissions counselors as a panel. And so those are just some opportunities that we have coming up. There's even another opportunity potentially to partner with some other schools that have a position like this, like Greeley and Falmouth. They partnered last year to do a similar thing. And if I can jump on that too for our parents, I'm going to do that. So those are just some of the things that are in the works that will hopefully get ironed out this year. Again, we'll continue to do the college and career fairs, collaborate with other local high schools. I feel like I have my little network, but I think the other thing that this position allows is some real networking with colleges and admissions counselors and really getting a sense of what do they each have to offer so we can bring that to our students, where before we just didn't have the time to do all of that. We also want to open up field trip opportunities. So I already have us in the books for next October to go to the shipyard. They couldn't accommodate us for the rest of this year. Same with Pratt and Whitney, just so we're reaching those kids that maybe college isn't for them, but they might be interested in jumping right into a job, that there's some security or an apprenticeship program. And then we are going to try to get some college visits as well on the books. And then along with this position, I'm also the school's testing coordinator, so I oversee all AP, PSAT, SAT, the NWEAs, and science augmentation for the building.
Just one quick question. Will the college tours be scheduled for the spring for some of the grades that haven't had it?
I don't know if that's going to be able to happen for this spring, but we are working on it. We're trying to for a class, but I don't know. Some of it's and I'm sure you guys know this better than us, the busing issues are a problem in the financially being able to send a bus of students. It could be a little tricky, but we absolutely want to try. So we're working on potentially being able to do that. I can't give you a yes or a no right now.
We are working on kind of a scaled down version, or maybe we don't do 8 or 9 different colleges this year because of the costs.
Yeah.
But maybe 2 or 3 before people being sent into sophomore.
Yep.
And just to add to that, with Angie taking on this new role and really focusing on juniors and seniors and taking some of that off our plates, the rest of the counselors are always looking at programming, especially this year and next year, of how do we expand freshman programming, how do we expand sophomore programming, because I do agree over the years it's been more junior and senior heavy, and we want to really start, even in 8th grade transition, moving in and really being more even and thoughtful for freshmen and sophomores. Even sophomores right now, we do a lot with career tech and we do a lot with career and resume building, but we felt like we were missing the coming 8th graders and freshmen. And so each year and every month that goes by that we have Angie and we're starting to really look at our programming, our hope is to expand that more and more. The last thing to talk about is just our school counseling website, which we have definitely overhauled, and I want to sort of go live and just show you a little bit. So this is something that we started, was it last year maybe? This new one. Just feeling like we want to be able to update our website in real time, and we didn't want to depend on someone else to have to update it for us. So I literally have this tab open on my computer every single day, and as soon as something comes up, I put it on our website. So my goal is always on the welcome page to have exactly what's happening right now. So we have all the career tech information, and course selection is coming up in March. We'll have all that information. And then we have all of our recent newsletters on the homepage. And then what we've done is I have, sorry, I'm doing too many things at once. Information for all grades, a sort of Infinite Campus, community service, all the documents that anyone would need depending on what students are looking for in families. We have a job board, all of our handbooks, but then it's divvied out by grade. So if you go to just sophomores, for example, any letter that goes home to families we have on our website as well. Obviously, sophomores are very career tech heavy right now, so we have everything right here. We've also, any presentations that we've done in the auditorium, we've live streamed them and put them on for families that if a student was absent or if we did a parent night and they weren't able to attend, we include the slideshow and the live link. So you can just sort of see here, all the information is all in one spot for sophomores, and then certainly other grades as well. So seniors, our senior planning presentation is here, our PowerPoint. And then we have certain tabs, our scholarships, which is up. So all of these are now Google Docs, which are, so as our administrative assistant updates a scholarship, it updates live here. So there's no PDFs and uploading, it's literally in real time. The other piece that we revamped is our community and mental health resources page, which obviously is in need right now. So we have food and community assistance, and then we have mental health resources and docs with live links of local therapists that are available and different information for families, SERP information, and then we have links to help find a counselor, and then we have crisis resources. So again, every page is updated in real time, and this was a huge change for us, a positive change compared to what we were working with before. So again, we just want to provide families real-time information and put everything online that comes through our office. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Is that all? Like, that's all you've been doing for the last couple of years? Holy guacamole, the change and the improvement is unbelievable. I don't even know what else to say. I was going to ask you questions, but you answered them all. Yes, you have live recordings of the presentations, like little things like that. Oh my gosh, and you have a job board area?
We
So if
do.
a local business was hiring teenagers, how do we reach out to you?
Yes, so usually we get emails from the community of like, hey, we're hiring, or if we stumble across something, we have an actual board, like paper by the cafeteria, but then we have our administrative assistant add it to a live doc that students can look at anytime.
That's awesome.
Same with community service.
Yeah. And community service as
Yes.
well. I love how you have it broken out by grade too.
Yes, because before it was sort of all jumbled, and so any parent that calls or anyone would just say, go to the website, everything's on there. And like I said, it's literally live on my computer daily, so every day you know that it's up to date.
This is so informative. As a parent of a high schooler, I had no idea this was
no
all
idea.
out here.
Yeah.
And I could actually find this information, so thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, this is, the audit was really important, but you think about, that there's been a 50% turnover if you include the administrative assistant in the school counseling department. And so we've done a tremendous amount of work. The counselors have embraced the work. I mean, it's going to evolve over time as technology changes, as needs change. And so I just, again, appreciate the collaboration that you've all done. Brett meeting and really engaging, the counselors and giving counselors voice to be able to say, look, if this is most important, what are the barriers that are in your way? Let's talk about those types of things. So, and just, really pleased with where we are right now. So thank you.
Was that the ASCA consultation?
A lot of it, yes. So ASCA, Gina coming in and really helping with the audit and getting that feedback, and then really of just being good listeners and saying to the counselors, if we want to do this and you want to do this, like, what's getting in the way? Let's talk about it and let's restructure things and let's have that really good conversation. And and just Brett's been a really good listener. Heidi and Nina have also been part of this process. Gina's been really instrumental. So
that's awesome.
A lot of people
So
involved.
with the, putting it all in the same place in the pod, in that area, and with the QR code appointment thing and all that stuff, do you feel like you're reaching more kids than you used to?
100%.
Right. So
Yes.
would it be too much of a stretch for me to hope that the next time we get the MIYHS data that it looks better?
We hope so very much.
Yeah, okay.
I think the piece is too is that we're visible now too. We're in the building in terms of like we're in the, students pass our pod to go to classes. Before, when we were sort of in the main office, we were tucked away and students really didn't come find us. But during advisory and passing times, we're in the hallway. Students come in and out of the pod to get papers, or again, we're hosting things in our classrooms. I think word is getting out that, we're a resource for students. So we're definitely seeing more students, and again, we've always done this, but we continue to meet with every student every year at least once one-on-one, in addition to going into advisory and large group programming. But the QR code has been a huge hit. And I think it puts the onus on the student to make an appointment. We're not having to chase students anymore. We get an email the second a student makes an appointment, and they can make it the day of. So a lot of times, I think we have it set, an hour before is like the shortest amount of window we need warning for, but we'll have students, in the morning sign up who are having even a bad day, and they make an appointment and come see us. But yes, we're hoping that Maya survey is much more positive given just the pandemic and all these other supports that we have in place. And that's next Wednesday.
Yes, I knew that was coming up.
Survey information just came in my office today.
Cool.
So just think about it from like the user standpoint. So the former, was the guidance office at that point, was really off the high school in a really secluded area. So if you came in, you were met with a desk, nothing
And
else
you had
around
to
you.
pass the main office,
Right,
which
and-
is
right.
scary.
And you couldn't see the counselors, they were down the hallway.
Yes.
So that was kind of just the way it was. And so now, literally, the entire building walks by that pod at least once a day. If you're in a
Yes.
science class or anything, so that's part of your rotation where the door's open, people are in there, it's been freshly painted, people are greeting each other, the counselors are in and out. So just the visibility, and from the end user point of view, it's so much more comfortable and natural to go in rather than kind of go into that doctor's office feel where
Yes,
I'm waiting for my
definitely.
appointment. And so really just try to, to think
Speaking
it out.
of that, I love cozy, safe, and welcoming. It's awesome. How can the community support that? Do you need furniture donated, decor, lamps? Like, just tell us. We'll throw it out on the Marshall
yes,
Terry
so-
page, and you'll have everything you need in 5 minutes. I know this
Yes,
community.
we have a few bean bags. We have a couple things. We've been trying to scale it. Furniture's expensive, so we've been trying to scale it back. We just painted, and it looks amazing. So we haven't decorated yet, like figured out what's going to go on our walls and things like that. But Yes.
You promise, you email me a list. and
Great.
I will get it out there on Facebook, and you will have
Okay.
the specific items link. You know what's even better? Like specific items and links, like this idea, but maybe someone has it and they want to donate it, whether it's a tall lamp or a whatever.
Yes.
Couch or whatever.
We would love a couch, some lamp, the more cozy, the more students are going to come in and access us.
Right? Of
Yes.
course. I got my cozy room in my house.
Yes.
Everybody needs a cozy place to go.
And I will say that we made a significant financial investment into kind of putting
Yes.
furniture into that hub. And so
Yes.
we wanted to make sure that it was
Yeah.
welcoming, it was user-friendly though, and so, to
Yeah.
do that, to paint the walls, and now to kind of start talking about the decor, I think is,
It's really fun.
so I would ask you if you ever, want to, on your way out, walk upstairs just to see it. It's a very, very
It's
different
great.
feel, so, yeah.
Yeah,
We're
we're
gonna
very
need a tour.
apprecitive.
I know, I wonder.
Yeah, we're really appreciative of everyone's support. It's made a huge difference, and I really think it's going to benefit students for the long term and the community as well. So thank you for all your help.
Thank you very much.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
I can't believe how much has been accomplished in just like
Yep.
A short time.
2 years.
18 months, right?
Yeah,
18 months?
Yeah.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
so. Yeah, but we're
You guys
excited
are
to keep going.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
So exciting. Thank you.
Thank
you
you
all.
very
Thank you, folks.
much.
You are welcome to go, so thank you very much for coming.
Oh, you don't want to stay and listen to the rest of this?
Next up, the principal of Marshall High School has offered to come and talk a little bit about some of the academic needs that we're going to be facing kind of going into next year. One of these parts is also, we had a significant investment into a new science position at the high school, and just kind of getting some feedback of where we are with that position, what we're doing with it. So, Brett, I'll turn it over to you.
So it's hard to believe it's the first week-ish in February, and we're starting to think about next school year already and getting things in place for kids to sign up for the courses and classes that they want to do. When we started to think about, what we want to look at for next year, we certainly talked to each department leader about things they might look to change, whether it's just the simple language of what it looks like in a description of a course or offerings of new courses. But we also talked about what's best right now for our kids. And given the MyOS data that we got earlier in the fall this year, one of the topics that came up was, do we want to try to look to increase the requirement for students, starting with the freshman class of 2027, for a full year of health? Now, what we found out recently is the state is also talking about this transition as well for all high schools. So maybe we're ahead of the curve a little bit, but we talked about the possibility of a students doing a full year of PE, which they already do, and expanding from a half year of health to a full year of health, because we're finding we're not getting through everything we need to get through given what kids have gone through the last few years.
Yeah.
So I don't have a description of what that's going to look like, because this is something that comes at a cost of hiring somebody to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We also talk about how do we make, to me, the most important year for a student, which is freshman year, as successful as possible. So we've come up with this idea to try to merge for a position with a part-time health teacher and a part-time transitions teacher who would work with all freshmen when they come in to really lay the framework and the groundwork of having a successful start to their school year. Again, we haven't quite laid out the description of that because we're kind of on hold, but I've got some great ideas and some people who want to jump on board to create a fabulous thing so kids really feel welcome, connected, engaged in how they can not just start high school, but learn everything about it, how they get into their remediation and intervention plans, how they get involved in their community service aspects, and so on. So what I'm proposing is one full-time teacher increase where 30% of that is for this health position, and then 70% would be this transitions freshman teacher to work with all freshmen in a semester-long course. So I've met with Mr. Caverly
You don't have
already.
to do anything with this. This will be part of our
Sure.
presentation, but this is just this. We're having this conversation. I just want to laying the groundwork for you all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be a semester-long course, you said? The
Yep, and
transitions?
every freshman would take that course. It would be combined through their study halls. So it's not a question of bumping a different elective out. That person would go through maybe a 40-minute curriculum piece with kids and then supervise and help them get through whatever work they need to do and communicate with teachers, interventionists, and special ed teachers to help students have that success.
And we're not talking about like a graduation requirement, we're not talking about a credit, we're talking about a grade, we're just doing like, it's really a freshman seminar for kids to be successful. That's the big idea. You know?
Specialized advisory.
Yeah. So that is the first piece. After that, similar to what was in the other presentations, we're looking at something that I think is brand new for Marshwood High School, and that is our English department head, Erin Hemker, has reached out to YCC, and we're looking at trying to add an English 101 composition course, which students would take in this building, which would meet a half a credit of their 4 Englishes, but also they would earn 3 credits at YCCC while they're here. So they wouldn't have to pay to take their English 101 course their freshman year. And I see this really taking off. We added this at my old school, and we had like 60, 70 kids who were taking advantage of this. The beauty of it is, and for some kids would say, well, I'm not planning to go to YCCC. Well, you don't have to. If you get that credit at YCCC, that will transfer to USM, that will transfer to UNH, that will transfer to Maine. And when you start your freshman year, you've got 1 class taken off your list. We want to look down the road to continue to do this with other subject areas where kids can get dual enrollment at Marshwood High School and earn college credit. So that's a proposal from our English department. Our foreign language electives, our French numbers are a little down right now, and we're trying to build some things for her to do that would excite it with kids. And so she's proposing English grammar for world languages, an overview of French history through art and literature as electives for her program there. And then on the back page, we surveyed all sophomores and juniors. We got 100 responses back. And what would you be interested in for potential science electives at Marshwood High School? And 2 of the 3 responses came back. 2 of the top 3 were environmental science, and we went with that one even though it was 3rd because we've taught it in the past. We have the books still on hand, so that the cost in terms of starting that up might be less expensive than something else. And then their overwhelming choice was the forensic science course. So I don't know if that's going to look like CSI whatever, or if it's going to be, I'm not sure, but those are the 2 proposals for the science electives to add to that. So
you know what I'm going to say, but I think it's important that we always recognize this. So when we talk about student voice, this is an opportunity for students to have a voice in what their curriculum looks like and what their choices are.
Absolutely.
So taking that time to be able to activate students just creates those habits where students feel like they're engaged, they're valued, and they're heard. And so, I give Brett a lot of credit for being able to do that. The other part I just want to be clear about is that these courses are designed, for the, they're not AP courses. I think there's a lot of offerings for our AP level students. There's a lot there, but we really talk about kids who need that additional science experience. What would you like to see? And so this is really where that came from.
That's so exciting.
And we would also continue, the other part of, if you think of a person, we would also continue to try to keep those freshman science numbers down, because that continues to be an area that we've got to be better at. That transition from Marshwood Middle School to Marshwood High School in the area of freshman science. Good point.
Yeah.
And the timing of this is really perfect tonight because I've got Mr. Gratian chasing after me to get things finalized so he can roll over the program of studies into Infinite Campus before kids start to click and sign up for the classes they want when we get back after February break.
And I do want to touch on the health course. And so when you look at the MIDAS data, obviously the engagement, feeling that they have a meaningful adult is really important. I also think it's important to point out that the alcohol, drug use, and vaping numbers are startling. And so we're looking at some really designed curriculum to address those issues that some of the state of Maine sponsors. And so that's going to be really targeted in the area of alcohol, drug use, in prevention, and also the social emotional health of students. So really trying to focus, that take a little bit off of that, maybe that freshman experience to be able to broaden the spectrum of the freshman class, but at the same time offering the second, half-credit course.
So if I'm not mistaken, to graduate is 21 credit hours, 15 and a half are required, and 5 and a half are electives. I guess what we're suggesting is if the health was a requirement for the class of 2027, that they would go to 16 required, and their elective go down to 5 to stay at 21.
We may even, that would be a policy committee meeting
Right.
discussion. Sure. But we may also just say we're gonna add another half of a credit for a requirement, because last year, the first semester, there were 7 opportunities for students to take classes. Second semester, 7 opportunities, and some classes go the full length of the year. Now with the schedule that they're on, there's 8 opportunities. So there's a 12.5% increase in the availability of scheduling. So that's something that, as we have the policy committee together, obviously we'll work with the high school around that, but there's a couple of options. But that would go to the policy committee. The policy committee would then bring it back to the board for your approval.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear. So these 2 foreign language electives and the 3 science electives, we think we can get these into the schedule for this coming year.
They're already part of the positions are already in place.
Got it. So
It's just
little
more
to
so-
no budget impact over what we're.
No budget impact.
Yeah,
for the
okay.
2 of those. So.
That sounds great.
Yeah, so that's, the timing is important because, this coupled with the work that we're trying to do around SRTC about what courses would count as requirements. So currently, if you were to attend SRTC, our students only get to knock off the electives portion, so they let, the 15 and a half credits of required courses, none of those classes count for. And so is there some things that we can look at to be able to knock off some of those required courses so that it makes it a little bit more conducive for students to be able to go there. And so you heard today, one of the programs, I can't remember what it was, I wrote it down.
Health OC.
No, it was something different.
Criminal justice?
No, it was the engineering where they basically they can earn 12 college credit hours for doing it.
Yeah.
But we don't offer graduation requirement credits for that. So that, that's something
Right, so
that we
that's
could look at,
tricky.
to be able to have that
Oh,
conversation.
yeah.
To be able to have that.
Yeah, and Kathy's been great, and so that's some of the work that we're doing right
Yeah.
now is to try to look at, and again, the way I look at it is the low-hanging fruit. I don't want to get into deep conversations because I think we want to have a diverse curriculum for students, but at the same time, there might be some areas where we could say, hey, that logically, this makes some sense. So this is all kind of part of the bigger conversation. So part of this will be addressed in the budget conversation that we'll have in 3 weeks. Part of it will be addressed with the policy committee as we look at changing policy.
Are the kiddos that go over to SRTC, are they pretty much, by the time they get to that 11th, 12th grade, pretty much, right? Some of those courses are only being counted as electives. When they're here, they have to take probably all
You have to take an English
required,
typically,
you have
right?
to do all of that.
Math, science, you've got to get those all, and so it's.
I ask, because you're probably thinking the same thing I am.
mhm.
It's the same kid who's gonna wanna do the criminal justice program over there and come back and take forensic science.
Right.
Over here.
Right.
But is that even gonna be possible?
Could be.
Okay.
Could be. It's all a matter of how we,
That example.
of
just
how we
popped
look at
in.
that, right? That's all,
And I think if they're keeping up with their credits their first 2 years, it's possible.
Oh, yeah.
It's if they start to fall behind for whatever reason that window starts to close.
So take as many of your required courses as you can, but that transitions person will be able to really make sure.
Yep.
And the school counseling program now, the
Yep.
way it is, and so this is great.
The-
Well, I'm just wondering if there's I feel like I heard it somewhere, maybe today, but a dual credit with your community college, a math option, similar to what you're doing with the English 101?
We want to explore that with our college, not our college algebra, but our advanced algebra 1 is what it's called with juniors and seniors, mostly seniors right now. That's equivalent to the college algebra that freshmen would take when they start college.
Oh, okay, so you're working something out with them?
Not this
potentially,
year, but yes.
Like for next school
Yeah.
year? Yeah.
Yeah. And what baffles my mind is if you take AP Calc, you're getting way more math than your advanced algebra here. But yet, it's harder to get that dual credit of an AP Calc credit than it is to get the college algebra. And just a footnote, and the reason we put a 101 on that number is I learned the hard way. My oldest son took college algebra 100. And when he transferred, they wouldn't accept it because it had to have the 101 number to it. And I'm like, really?
So again, the idea is let's put students at the center, right, and then let's talk about what competencies look like, and then how do we open up those opportunities for students. And so sometimes when you create systems, you inadvertently create barriers for kids. And then so, Brett's done a wonderful job, trying to find ways to eliminate those barriers. But also, what do kids need? And so we were trying to use our data, and that would be, a lot of this will be addressed in our budget presentation. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very
This is good
exciting.
stuff.
Yeah, it's great work.
Next on my agenda, is just an update on the Affinity Lighting project. So Marshwood High School at this point is complete. We have control over the outside lights now, and so we're working on being able to work through Verizon to be able to control those lights remotely. And so LED lights are much brighter than the typical lights, and so one of the things that we found is that the typical setting we would have our lower parking lot lights on is so high that it's almost like it's too illuminated.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
we're toning that down. So let's try 38%. Let's try 26%. Like, what's that threshold? And so one of the issues that we did run into is in the midst of trying to do that, the light post in the front of the school broke.
Whoops.
Yeah, so we had some lights that were out, and so we were trying to adjust it, and then it became really dark outside. And that's been corrected, but we're in the process of working with that. I will also share that we are also looking at expanding to our other schools. And so obviously, what prompted this? Well, with the high school project, we were able to pay for that, and really the savings that we took from the energy is what paid for the project. And so it was really budget neutral, and actually saved a little bit of money. And so when we were notified that our kilowatt hour price went up from 6 cents per kilowatt hour to almost 16 cents per kilowatt hour, we said, wait a second, like this is an issue. And then so if we calculate that out, it's well over $200,000 increase. And so this would be an opportunity for us to look at, is there a chance to do the same thing, to be able to reduce our use, be able to save some money, and be able to work towards the LED lighting. And so we have a proposal that we are going to be doing some work on over the next couple of weeks. It would be my goal to bring that proposal forward to you on the first meeting in March, just so that everybody's aware of that. So I think we've got great news. We're working on just the finances and just making sure budgetarily it works, but it would all be kind of wrapped together. So.
Great.
And I am going to give you, the students could not be here for a couple of different reasons, so I'm going to do my best, and I am going to fail miserably compared to what they do, so forgive me. But Nighthawks hockey played York last Wednesday, and they lost 42 in a great game. Also took on Falmouth and lost another one, a heartbreaker 3-1. The Unified basketball team played Friday against Kennebunk. It was a hugely attended event. Kids did wonderfully. It was so fun to watch. Boys basketball played Bonnie Eagle on Tuesday and lost a game 27-41, and they have senior night tomorrow night, I believe, versus Westbrook. Girls basketball defeated Bonnie Eagle last week, and then they are on the road tomorrow. We'll be playing Westbrook as well. So, ski team, Wednesday night's race night in a lot of ways, so that's part of the reason why Rowan can't be here. But last Wednesday night at Shawnee Peak, the girls took first with Hadley Pruitt, Lydia Phipps, and Maeve Long, all finishing in the top 10. So great news. Boys took fourth with Quinn McGuire finishing first overall. They have a few more races, and then I believe next Wednesday is the SMA Championships, the 15th. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
It doesn't say, but I think it's going to be held at Saddleback.
SMAs are
next Wednesday.
states.
States are
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
SMAs are this Friday.
This Friday, right, so states are, yeah. so
States are
it's-
next Wednesday and Thursday.
So it's all cooking.
Yes.
So.
By the way, those three athletes you named actually finished in the top three.
The top three.
Top three of the whole race.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll put you.
Rowan
in
was being
first.
modest.
Love
You know?
that.
Yes, she was.
In just extracurriculars, the Civil Rights team is continuing working with the departments. I'll be working with Principal Hooktrip to be able to have them come and do their presentation. We'll find the time to do that. Doing some work with yearbooks available for purchase, and we just had a, we'll talk about it in a second, with getting some student voice from student government, so that would be kind of part of the policy committee report. So, and they're continuing to evolve. February is Hawk Pride Month, and so that would be the theme with all the advisories. So. And that concludes mine and the student report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no correspondence upon which to report, so we'll move into the reports of the committees. The Finance and Facilities Committee met earlier this evening. I'll do a quick run on the numbers. The general fund cash balance, first of all, has been pretty healthy for the balance of the latter end of the month of January. Expenditures are now tracking much more closely to budget, and revenues are lagging a little bit, but expected to improve. Adult education is running a surplus right now that's expected, as we say every meeting, to spend down back to zero by the end of the year. We've got the December food service numbers were low, or I should say they ran a deficit in large measure because of a 3 payroll month, but that's expected to recover. Federal grants are still trickling in slowly. Our general fund financial statement were improved by a point in terms of the percentage remaining in the budget, so that's actually a couple of points, I think, so that's looking better. That's pretty much it. We're in good shape financially. Who
Oh,
wishes to
sorry,
talk
that's
about-
me.
Yes.
I'm going to give an update on some facilities. The snowplow, we're getting some proposals are due for Friday, how much that will cost for all the plowing. It looks like there's $82,500 of the budget is set aside for snow removal, but we expect it to be more, correct? About 40,000 more. So we're getting some proposals for that. We're also looking at all the projects that we have going on around all the different schools to decide which projects we're going to go with, and getting pricing and see which ones we want to complete, like the steeple at the Great Works School, the cupola at the EES, and getting some parking lot sealant. So we'll be and the window project going on as well. A transportation update, we are very excited to announce that we have a new driver, a new bus driver, that she will be helping out as a spare driver and offering some flexibility for when we're short from drivers. So that is so exciting. And we also were approved for 2 new buses from the state, so we'll be getting reimbursed for those. So that is very exciting too. And then the other thing that we're looking at is a system for helping to remove the snow from the tops of the buses. It's very difficult for a lot of the bus drivers to get up there. It can be potentially dangerous pulling the snow off the roofs of the buses. So they're just taking a look at a system that would kind of a contraption that goes on the top of the bus to help remove that. So they're looking at pricing for that and see if that's beneficial.
And in terms of food service update, we had our presentation last school board meeting. So our leadership followed up with just to make sure that things were in the way that was planned. So the carts snack carts will be out at the schools hopefully soon. The chicken products at the elementary schools are being looked at, back over the summer during budget season. The group had encouraged or approved buying some whole chicken strips versus the processed meat. So our leadership is just checking to confirm that everything's in place, that our kids are being fed the best products possible. So again, breakfast carts, hopefully that will be in place very shortly at the Marshwood Middle School. And then John gave the update about the energy efficiency efforts that are going on with the LED projects, and also he reviewed some of the recycling initiatives that are being explored for the future, and the more to come soon about that.
Can I add something just for point of clarity?
Please.
When we talked about we're putting a placeholder in, we have no idea as far as plowing goes, what people are going to come at us with as far as bids, and so we have to kind of, as a building the budget, create some placeholders. would expect that the bids may be greater than the $82,000 that we have in the books right now. I hope they're not. That would be great if they weren't. But I just think also we just are understanding that there is some flexibility within what the bids could bring to us, and so we're just kind of holding our breath and waiting to see it till Friday, because that obviously is a huge impact for our budget. So.
How does that work? Is that like a set contracted amount for the year, no matter what happens and what's needed?
So great question. And so a few years ago, we went through this, and the contract, in my opinion, favored the vendors, because what it said was, you would remove the snow, and then if the snow was too much, they could come and they would remove the snow off the premises for you, but they would charge you extra for it.
I think I remember that.
And that felt backwards to me, right? So like, what's the incentive to make sure you do a really good job so you don't ever have to remove the snow?
Right.
So 5 years ago, when we did the RFP, so the request for proposal, we said, look, all-inclusive. You take care of the snow, you salt, you sand, everything. And so in a lot of ways, it's a game of chance, right? This
You could make out or not.
I'm not even gonna talk about the weather.
No.
In theory, there could be a year when you have very minimal, and maybe you come out with a real positive end. There could be a year if you get really belted with snow where you could end up losing money that year. And so like there is some game of chance that's involved with it. But it is all-inclusive. So if it snows a lot or it snows a little, we still pay the same amount.
And it's completely less stressful and worrisome.
Well, it takes the pressure off of us and puts it on somebody else. All we have to do is say, hey, there's an issue. So for instance, Robbie Sylvester, who's doing it currently for us, has been great. And so we had that, really difficult storm. And so I would call him on, Monday afternoon and say, look, we're going up to get the buses dug out right now. I need you to get up there as quickly as you can, and he goes up and does it right away, even though he'll have to go back 4 hours later, he really works diligently to work with us with that. So that's a nice, and there are some areas within the district that are always tricky. The hill, for instance, at Marshall Middle School, believe it or not, like you've got to salt that or sand that, because if that, the way the water runs off, it's not bad as it used to be. It used to be, before we hit the parking lot, there would be a stream running down. So like that was an area that we used to always have to be careful of, just as cars would kind of lose traction and slip on the hill, and then we have a problem at the middle school. So just things that we would always have to be careful of. So. Sorry, I just want to make sure it's clear about that.
Don't apologize, please, thank you. Appreciate the clarification. That concludes finance and facilities. Ed policy has not met since our last meeting, but you wanted to talk a little bit about.
Jen, do you want to just talk about the subcommittee?
Yes,
met?
so a subcommittee met to specifically review and discuss the dress code. And there was student representation again at that meeting. And so it was a good, productive sort of conversation around what we want that to look like, what's important, sort of hearing all voices at the table. And then we're going to come back and meet again with sort of thinking about what might a procedure look like. Do we want a procedure to go along with that? So more to come on that. But
this is specific to the high school?
To the high school.
Yeah.
No, and middle school.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere, okay.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is our conversation was, there's more of it's a philosophical shift too, right? Like we want to create teachable moments. I think one of the things that was in our current policy that says students should treat school as if it was work. And that's, all of us probably like, well, I know what that means, right? But now, like in this day and age where, work's remote, and this is like that standard is very different than it used to be. And so it's really about creating a conducive and efficient learning environment, right? And so like, let's focus on that. And so we want to create the teachability part. And that's something that we all need to have ownership in. It's not just about, it's not just, Principal Hoopter, he's responsible for that. All of us are responsible for that, about creating that learning environment. So, that's the work that we're doing right now. Well, I think we're going to try it again next Tuesday, if at all possible, before our next meeting, before our next policy meeting. Yep.
Great. Okay, thank you. And then lastly, Wellness and SEL will next meet on March 1st. So there's no update there tonight. Okay, that concludes the report of the committees and brings us to new business. We have a single second read for our new business tonight. Can I have a motion, please, with regard to IKFB?
I move to approve I move to consider N action to approve the second reading and discussion of policy IKFB, participation in graduation programs.
A second, Rebecca.
Rebecca, thank you. No change since the first read?
No, and just as a reminder, this is really about the State of Maine diploma and allowing students with the State of Maine diploma to participate in marching and graduation ceremonies in Marshall High School.
Right. We did have a rather lengthy discussion about this at our last meeting. I think no changes. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That is 5-0. Thank you. And that concludes new business. That's a rare evening of one item. Building administrators check-in. We've already heard from you. Do you have other things to tell us?
I have two quick things.
Great. Excellent. Thank you.
So each year across the state of Maine, every principal gets the opportunity to nominate a student for the Maine Principals Association Award. It's kind of a big thing. It's a cool thing. Me being my first year, I'm thinking I've got that narrowed down to about 60 kids right now. I don't know how to get it down to one. But 3 or 4 were kind of standing out because it's whoever I want. It's whoever I choose who's made a great impact over their 4 years here. But I did survey a couple folks, and they locked in on one name here. So my nomination is Annabelle Taft to do that. We met with Annabelle, and we had her mother on the phone. And it was so nice to see the humbleness of Annabelle as we talked about what this award looked like. Her and I will be able to go to a luncheon in Bangor with every school from across the state, every principal and their nominee. And then they have the opportunity that day, if you're present, where they draw 10 $1,000 scholarships for whoever. Now, I've never had anybody win that, but I'm hoping this year Annabelle will bring the good luck. So she is a recipient. She was going to put it in her report, and I said, that's my news, not yours. Second thing is I'm trying to pull together my budget to get ready to turn in to Mr. Cormier here. I've got a week, but I've got one thing that's just kind of glaring right now that I want to run by you. In the past, the state testing was the SAT, which every student across the state took. And so this district paid for kids to take the PSAT in preparation for that. And we're continuing to pay that for kids every year. That's the tune now of $10,000 for those two things. Do we want to, A, continue to pay for that? B, maybe we don't pay for the PSAT anymore because it's no longer connected to the state testing, and just pay for the SAT, or do we not want to pay for both so I can get my budget balanced?
So what I talked to Brett about is I wanted to put that on your radar, just something that we're going to think about. We'll address it during a budget presentation. He and I have kind of been going back and forth. There are a couple options, because currently, or not currently, but in the past, we've paid for the SAT, but we've done it during the school day. And so do we offer to pay for the SAT but do it on a Saturday? Like there's some options that we might have to be able to do that. And so we're going to kind of work through, we're going to sit down and talk with Heidi a little bit to obviously get the assessment piece of that. And then part of the budget presentation, we'll share that with you. So there might be a little bit of a caveat in the high school budget, so just so you're aware that may be a part of what we talk about. Or you're not going to be aware, it is going to be what, because we mentioned I'll talk about in the budget presentation. All right. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, any last comments or questions from the board?
I have one last comment, question, I guess it's a question. All these wonderful presentations that we get, there's often PowerPoints associated with them, which are really awesome. And I didn't know, how we have the folders for the board with the different agendas and all of that? I wonder if we could get the PowerPoint put in
Sure.
to those. We just had so many the last few
Yeah,
meetings, and
I-
I'm like, I want to go
take the
back, but then I
time.
gotta go
Yeah.
look through my paper and.
Absolutely. I'll do that. The tricky part is I don't know if I can have them in there on the Friday before.
No,
like
I
Kathy.
totally get that.
Just-
I'm
yeah,
just
later.
saying, like, after the
Sure.
meeting, so we have the
100%.
thing, okay,
Go
there was
back.
the agenda,
Yeah.
there's the associated PowerPoint, it's easy to find,
Mhm.
because we have them by date, those
Yep.
folders.
So
That's a good
I
idea.
have Scott's two that he recently did. I
Yes.
have
What was the other? There was
Kathy just did one,
The food one.
The student,
the food presentation,
school counseling,
and school counseling.
food, yeah.
All right, let me,
There have been a lot, but just, let's not go back too terribly far.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just
no, but
like-
I think it's a great
Yeah.
resource.
We're moving
So
forward.
Yeah.
Because we do these special topics every meeting, it's like, why not, if there's a PowerPoint
Yep.
for sure.
But it might be helpful, though, that if I'm you, and I'm, John's gonna get up and talk about an hour about what the budget's gonna be, and then I can go back and say, wait a minute, reference material.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gifted and talented, wait a second, let me go back and
Where
just
was
double
that?
check my
Yeah.
understanding, or special education, let me,
Yeah,
because there may
your
be.
PowerPoints are really awesome.
No, no,
Like,
no.
but no, I mean, just in terms of
But it just might be a
that,
good
yeah, I
piece of
didn't even think
information for you to
that.
have, so.
Yep.
No, it's so true. And And then, so the next piece of that is, and I don't know if this is really necessary, but kind of the same idea for the public, to be able to access those, or is that not a necessity, really? I mean,
I think it's,
you do this, we do this for the budget, we did that last year.
yeah, but I think it's,
for the
I
budget.
mean, like, you think about, what school counselors
I
have shared with us,
know,
right? I mean,
that was
that's
like a
awesome,
great
you know what I mean? And
presentation.
so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is there, we could do a tab that says board presentation PowerPoints, and it's
Yeah.
just, there's
Yeah.
PowerPoints that people can go through,
Yeah.
very simple.
That's a
things.
great idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just
Yeah.
another link on the website
Yeah.
with
Super.
a doc with the
Yeah.
links to
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give me about a month
No,
to work that through.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no, I think
not,
that's
like,
easy,
urgent.
but it's just, I think the hard part is we just gotta establish habits with
The
that. Like,
habit,
that's-
Sure.
the
Yeah.
process
that's the-
of that,
Yep.
yeah, I totally
I
get it.
remember when I first started teaching, I think it was my second year, and I thought that it was actually my second year being an athletic director, and I thought that if I had a bulletin board where I could post all of the athletic schedules, that would solve all my problems. Because, hate to say this, but like, email and, digital
Yeah,
sports,
yeah.
that stuff wasn't really part of it. And the principal pulled
No.
me aside and said, just remember, you gotta keep it up to date. 'cause
Now
it-
it's-
it- it-
now it's
now-
a
now-
full job.
now it's the real work, you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't do it and then not do it, right? And so that's, so making sure that we get those positive habits.
Yeah.
And if that's something that we can help with,
It should be simple. It should be really
it
simple.
should be,
Yeah.
but we're here to help with
Yeah.
that too.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I second.
All in favor? 5-0, we are adjourned.